You know what? I don't even feel like doing an intro. It's Thomas. It's Yana. We're gonna have a conversation. Part one of two, maybe three, but we'll see how that goes.
hmm
So, Yana, how have you been?
I've been good. Feeling a bit broken this week from training. I'm not quite sure how I managed to feel so broken, but my back has been giving me trouble. Something with my shoulder, and I sprained my left middle finger during judo on I think it was Wednesday. Yeah. So I'm feeling not the best when it comes to like how my body's feeling training wise. But I'm hoping to train tomorrow morning for open mat at Grindhouse
Oh, you're gonna go to
and
Grindhouse?
mhm, in Woodbridge.
I was thinking about going to that.
Yeah, you should go. It seems like it's always a pretty good group of people, although I don't ever see many women there. It's usually like I'm always for the past couple of times I've gone, I've been the only female.
So, honestly, other than like the Grindhouse sessions where Saida brings ladies, or
hmm
like ladies and Saida's crew go, I don't think I've seen very many ladies over at Dalla's gym.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. But I
that,
mean, it's still good training. It's great training, no matter who your training partner is.
yeah.
Good number of higher belts, so more technical roles. And before you ask, I'll go ahead and answer. I'm drinking rum tonight.
We're both drinking rum tonight.
Mhm.
This can be a little dangerous.
Yeah, sipping away. We're just sipping.
Yeah, are you just drinking yours straight?
Yes,
Yeah, I had to put ice in here. Like I will be giggling in like 2 minutes if I didn't put something
makes
in
the
there.
conversation more fun.
Yeah. So what I wanted to talk about tonight, and we before we recorded, I decided that we were going to make a part one and part two. I wanted to talk about training with people of the opposite sex, or is it gender? What's the appropriate term? Yes? I don't know.
Interchangeable, I would say. It's
Yeah.
fine. Whichever word you use is fine with me. I would go with sex, the opposite sex.
Yeah, I don't want the terminology police to come after me.
Right.
Not that
We don't
the
want to make this into a political discussion.
right.
So,
We'll just say sex. So we were just talking about um Grindhouse, where you said there was not a lot of women that go there. And I
right.
brought up that, most of the time I've been to Dallas, I've never really seen very many women. Um Now, from a personal experience, I don't have a problem training with ladies. I am a bigger guy, so I have to roll with them a little bit differently, except for you. You are I don't really tone things down,
hmm
except
No.
except my strength level. I don't brute force you.
hmm
But the catalyst of this conversation was, I'd say, about 3 or 4 years ago. We For about 2 weeks there was this young lady that trained with us at Pentagon, and I'm not going to name her, but I think you might know who I'm talking about. She got frustrated with our whole team because she couldn't find a guy that would go 100% all out on her during a roll. So the two times that I remember partnering with her, she say go 100%, go 100%. I'm like, no, like I'm at the time I was a 230-pound guy. She was probably 105, 5'1", 5'2", 110 pounds. Like it totally would not have been
Wow. Okay.
it. It would have not been. There would be no learning going on. Like
Right. Exactly.
I would just basically just sit on her.
hmm
But anyways, she got mad. She got frustrated, so she quit. Um, about a week ago, she messaged me saying, "Hey, I started a new gym. I found a guy that agreed to go 100% on me. I now have injuries and I have to quit." So apparently, she got a broken rib. Like something happened to her elbow. I don't remember if it got sprained or if it got broken or whatever. And then she got like a head injury. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because I think that a lot of times when it comes to like training and even interpersonal relationships between the sexes at gyms, sometimes things can go a little wonky.
Mhm.
So, you know, yeah, so I wanted to have a discussion about that.
Yeah, actually, this is not the first time I've heard about females sustaining injuries. Like I've heard of women suffering from broken ribs after training with guys who don't hold back. And I find it actually quite surprising that this woman wanted guys to go 100% with her, because that's actually a lot of times what women complain about is like female practitioners will complain about, especially with younger white belt males uh, getting too aggressive and that leading to injuries, unnecessary injuries, because they don't know how to control their body movements or their strength or aggression level. So I find it surprising that this particular person wanted, 100% from these guys. So, and I guess she learned her lesson. Um, but I mean, I would say that uh, I can kind of get where she's coming from, because I know, as a female in a male dominated sport, you don't want to feel like you're being babied, or that you want to feel like you're getting the best training possible. And if you feel like your training partner is holding back on you, then it can be really frustrating. So I get where she's coming from when she had that sentiment. But nowadays, now that I've been training for some years, now I'm always telling guys, especially white belt males, young white belt males, you know, take it easy, because I don't want to get injured, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's a male dominated sport, so it's as a female practitioner, I'm constantly training with the opposite sex. So I feel like, women have more experience with that than guys do in this particular sport, or really any combat sport. Um, and I've had a lot of interesting experiences with training with the opposite sex. Some good, some bad. And I've had like interpersonal like problems with when it comes to training jujitsu. But I don't want to get too far into it
Yeah,
quite
no,
yet.
right. Yeah, so just to reiterate, I have two rules, like no naming specific people, unless you're 100% sure that it'll be no BS will come of it, and no naming specific gyms if it comes to something controversial.
Mhm.
So yeah, share what you want. Just keep all that in mind.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
there was this one. I know that some women prefer to train only with women. I know there's just like this Muslim woman who tried to do jujitsu. Do you remember? And
The older lady?
yeah, the
Yeah.
older lady, and she would only ever roll with the women. And I found it interesting because she was trying to practice a male dominated sport with only women. And I think she eventually quit because it was like, I don't know, I think she thought it was too difficult or something, or um, there were sometimes no females to train with. I mean, that's like the problem you run into with this kind of sport. Um, but yeah, I think it's so funny that we're actually talking about this, because it brings up that whole question of like biological differences between males and females. And I know that is a very heated discussion right now with, isn't there like recently some swimmer, transgendered swimmer who won a female division for some event.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of back and forth about whether it was fair or not. And I mean, I'm personally of the opinion that there are biological differences between men and women that we need to respect. And that, especially when it comes to like combat sports, when we're trying to hurt each other, there should be no, like, we shouldn't mess with the divisions, male versus female divisions. That's my personal opinion, because I think the world's strongest man is always going to be stronger than the world's strongest woman. That's just biologically how we're built.
Yeah. Hey, did you
Thomas, I think you froze.
did I? Hold on. Sorry about that. We had technical difficulties. So we were talking about the swimmer.
Yes. And I was saying that, especially when it comes to combat sports, I think that we should respect our biological differences. And the world's strongest man is always going to be stronger than the world's strongest woman. So I don't think that there should be any mixing of male and female divisions. And honestly, I think there should be like just a separate division all on its own for transgendered athletes. I mean, I have nothing against them competing, just not like if you were born a male and like when you're an adult, you decide to transition into a female. I don't think that gives you the right to suddenly start competing in the female division.
No,
That's just my personal opinion. I know
And-
that's not a popular opinion.
in the
I know
context of BJ, like combat sports and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in particular, because that's what we do. No, we're in agreement there. And let me preface what I'm about to say with a short story. When I moved to DC when I was 18, preparing to go to University of Maryland College Park, I had no friends. I was not Black enough to hang out with the Black kids, and I was, too Black to hang out with the white kids, so to speak. So I was in a little bit of a social limbo. Now, that all broke when I went to Nations Friday night and met two guys who basically super friendly, didn't really know much about them. They interacted with me, had conversations with me, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, took care of me. Long story short, they both ended up being transitioning. So didn't bother me, did not care. They were good people. With that being said, the young lady that sparked this conversation in my mind said one thing that I think was the catalyst for her problem, being that she wanted a man to go, all out on her. One of the first conversations I had with her at that brief period of time that she trained with us was that she was adamant that there were no physical difference between men and women. And it was a little weird to me that somebody who was of the opposite sex was standing in front of me, literally half my size. Like she was about 110, 115. I was 230. I was literally two of her. And I think that's where the problem started, at least in her case. Because when you have that mentality, I think the understanding that a man is going to have a biological advantage over you is kind of lost. So,
yeah, I have to say that for a really long time, for most of my younger years, I've always kind of been like a tomboy, and not like throughout high school, I wasn't like a man hater per se, but I always thought like I could, you know, I didn't want my gender, my sex, whatever, to get in the way of me doing anything. And that's why I'm a drill sergeant in the Army, which is male dominated. I do combat sports, which is male dominated. Like I just really, I have an aggressive streak, and I don't want me being a female to like get in the way of that. And for a really long time, I had this kind of chip on my shoulder and I think I kind of also had that mentality that woman you're describing had, where I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like I should be able to beat whoever, no matter their size or their gender or whatever. When I first started jujitsu, and I mean, I've since come to terms with the fact that like there really are biological differences, and we need to respect those differences. And I think I'm a lot. I still want to like not let me being a female get in the way of me get in the way of me doing anything. But like I said, I'm more respectful of the differences, and recognize them. And I don't have as much of a chip on my shoulder as I used to. I'm not as angry and man hating as I used to be. But
Good.
now, I mean, I guess the reason I bring that up is because, like, yeah, when I first started doing jiu-jitsu, I would be really hard on myself because anytime, and I would find it extremely frustrating when a guy would like overpower me while we were rolling, because I always thought like I just have to have better technique, or I just have to move faster, or I just have to be smarter or whatever to beat this person, no matter if they're a guy or not. But I mean, there are guys who are like twice my size, and it's a lot more difficult to beat them. And they can, like, sometimes they do use their strength to overpower. And I mean, that's when jujitsu is not fun, in my opinion. Like, I don't think any guys should be using their strength to overpower another partner, especially if that partner's a female, because then you're gonna like dissuade that training partner from ever training again.
Yeah.
Don't be an
So
asshole training partner. But anyway, I digress.
yeah. So
I kind of get where she's coming from.
on that note, I've actually gotten on several white belts cases for overpowering, if they get partnered up with a female. Like I'd
Mhm.
get on their case. I'd see them just, physically just push them into the mat and
Mhm.
not let them up. And it's like, I've
Yeah.
actually walked over, and one guy in particular, it was at Ed's Sunday class. I picked him up
Mhm.
by the back of the lapel, pulled him off, and I told him, you're not getting anything out of this role by overpowering this young lady. She's
Mhm.
not getting anything out of this role by being overpowered.
Mhm.
Skill acquisition is what you have to focus on, not
Yeah.
just, you know, brute forcing somebody into the mat and then, you know, thinking that you're doing good.
Yeah. And I think it's so hard to retain females in the sport. Like I said, it's very male dominated. And I know that a lot of women, um, they're just not interested in it for various reasons. They think it's too, because I mean, I've talked to so many women. I want more women training in jiu-jitsu. I think it's great for self-defense. And also women tend to be more technical, and it's just like kind of a different training experience than rolling with guys. It's way more technical, more flexible, and um, rubbery, you know. So it's a different training experience. But when a lot of times when they're already like unsure about like training in the sport, trying it out. Like I've had several conversations, like, oh, you should do this. It's like, yeah, you know, it looks kind of interesting. Like, then do it. What's holding you back? And a lot of times it's either, I don't want to get hurt. I don't know, I'm too nervous. Uh, it's gross because it's sweaty and intimate sometimes. Um, and I mean, I don't really think about any of those things when I'm training, but a lot of women do. A lot of women think about like the sweat and how gross that is, and stinky people, and um, catching ringworm, and or getting hurt, you know, because it looks aggressive and scary, and like, oh, I don't know what I'd be doing, and I'm, you know, and especially when there was this one um, female we had training at Pentagon MMA who I had to convince uh, to keep training because she would practice with some of the other males, and they would be kind of asshole training partners. And, you know, she was one of those people who was starting to feel kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Discouraged.
Hmm?
Discouraged.
Yeah, discouraged, that's the word. Discouraged, and you know, she's like, you know, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, blah, blah, blah. And she had gotten like injured at one point because some guy went like ape shit on her. And it's like, I was like, no, please, like, we need females in this sport. Don't let an asshole training partner stop you from training. And just, you know, and that's why I nowadays I say, hey, take it easy, like to the white belts, like take it easy. This isn't a, a life and death situation. You know, you don't, just watch your strength level, your aggression level, blah, 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 blah. But
Yeah.
you know,
Even at my age and where I'm at in jujitsu, like the younger guys still always try to overpower me, and it doesn't always
your
work.
ego.
And
Mhm.
but if I were smaller and or a small female, like I could see that being a very traumatizing event if it occurred over and over again. Um,
Mhm.
one of the other times I got into someone's case is when he had pinned um, one of our female training partners' hands overhead like this, and he was sitting on her
Mhm.
chest. I was like, nah, man, that's not cool.
That's, yeah, that's crazy.
Like, don't do
Some
that.
guys, like, their ego just gets in the way, and it's like a power trip for them, or they just have a chip on their shoulder and something to prove, you know, and that's really not what martial arts is about. And a lot of times, and when they stick around for the sport, they end up, you know, they end up being humbled by higher belts, like kicking their butts, you know. But
There is one.
yeah.
There is one guy that a couple months ago. I don't know if he still trains at Pentagon or not. Um, he had a bit of an issue with rolling with women. He didn't say it, but you could see it. Like if he
In what
couldn't get,
way?
like if he couldn't get a technique off, he would get angry. Like he would get visibly angry, and apparently he would say stuff to some of the ladies, and they would come and tell me, and I would go and talk to him, and he seemed to be, understanding. Yeah, okay, I understand. I'll tone it down. But there
Like,
was,
what would he say?
well, oh, stuff like, um, I'm trying to keep it PG. Like if they passed his guard, right? He would say, "Oh, I just let you pass my guard because you're a lady." Like
Oh,
he would inject
okay.
little shots like that in there.
Mhm.
But he would get mad at that though. So he would continue the role in an enraged manner, and it was like dangerous. So
Mhm.
I had to pull him aside a couple times. I had to tell him, Stop, cut it out. You know,
Mhm.
if you are getting angry, step off the mat. Like just, they have a right
Yeah.
to be here. They want to get some training in. They want to learn something. Getting angry and pulling the antics you're pulling is not going to fly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ultimately, yeah, like ultimately there was 2-3 ladies who were, complained to me about him, and I did my best. Like, I don't know if he still trains there or not, but
Mm.
he caused several
Yeah.
injuries, and I was just like,
That's,
nope.
well, I hope he was kicked out. We've had other problems too, where I know we had this one guy who, so like to kind of go back on my earlier point, one of the reasons that women don't feel comfortable training is because how intimate, right, the sport can be.
Yeah.
And there have been problems. I know one case in particular at Pentagon MMA, this was like a couple of years ago, where well, actually I can think of like two guys who trained at Pentagon MMA, and they would use jujitsu as a way to like cup a feel or to like be flirtatious. And that's also really toxic, because it makes women feel uncomfortable. I mean, yes, the sport is a very like, intimate sport, but you're always supposed to train with the mentality that, I'm in the gym, I'm training combat sport, and that's it, right? It
Yeah.
should never be a chance for you to be a creep, basically, and there have been instances where like guys at the gym have tried to make it into that, and they've been one of them was kicked out. Like, I think there were enough complaints about him that he got kicked out.
Was it like 5 years ago, that particular incident?
Yeah, he was a tall guy.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's just so inappropriate. And it makes it so difficult when you have people like that. It makes it really difficult to um like if you have a partner, like a romantic partner who's like slightly uncomfortable with you doing jujitsu because you're training with the opposite sex and it's a very intimate sport, it makes it that much more difficult to like have your romantic partner feel comfortable, your significant other feel comfortable with you training, when there are people out there like that. Usually guys, I haven't come across any women who act like creeps on the mat. Maybe maybe they exist. I'm sure, Thomas, you probably have a story, but most of them tend to be guys. And yeah, it does make it more difficult to like justify or make the argument that like, no, it's not sexual. It's, just jujitsu. And
So
you have guys like that who try to make it sexual.
so it for me, it's my headspace changes. Off the mat Thomas is slightly different from on the mat Thomas. I get, if I'm around someone who I find to be attractive off the mat, I get nervous. I'm like, oh, you know, like just I mentally just get nervous.
Mhm.
That same lady on the mat, it's all business. Like,
Oh
I don't,
yeah,
I don't
that's
care
how it
how,
should be.
right. Her attractiveness means nothing. And apparently it's automatic. It's not, for me, it's not something that can go on and off. Like if I'm
Mhm.
in a gi in class, oh, that young lady's here, she's an 8 to 10 in my opinion. No bearing on how the rolling or drilling or anything goes.
Right, and I think that's how it should be. And people who can't do that, I think maybe they struggle to compartmentalize,
Or they're there just for the wrong reason anyways.
or they're there for the wrong reason. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I've had, obviously there are people you train with sometimes who are attractive, and you're like, hey, I might be interested in asking this person out on a date or something. But it's usually not good practice, in my opinion, to like try to date your team members, because then if things don't, you know, if things fall through or shit hits the fan, then it can get really uncomfortable. And I've definitely seen
as we have seen.
gym drama,
Yeah.
and have been part of some gym drama. But yeah, no, but in those instances where I'm like, wow, this is an attractive person, they seem really cool. Yeah, when I'm training, it's just like, I don't think about that stuff. Like training is training and that's it. And like, there was this one person who used to train at Pentagon. He was really good. And he trained there for a while. And I had actually like asked him, like, this was like years ago, maybe like when I had been training for 2 or 3 years or something. And I like asked him if he wanted to like grab beers or something at some point. And I mean, he was dating someone at the time. So like nothing ever happened. But and I never let that get in the way of the training, like the training environment. I never let that influence the training environment, you know?
Yeah. And you know, it's a sticky situation, I think, you know, just
Mhm.
the training, maintaining a training environment, because there was an incident recently, no, not recently. There was an incident within the last 6 years where
That's not recent, man.
I'm trying not to narrow it down so somebody doesn't get identified.
Got it.
But there was a young man who was not out yet to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to do something after class. So he asked a female training partner who they were really good friends. She took that wrong and freaked out. She was like, why is this guy asking me out? Like, this is nuts. So she reacted in a way, not knowing the full picture.
Wait,
So
hold on a second. You said he came out? I thought, wait,
he wasn't out yet. He wasn't out to everybody yet.
but he was asking a female
To go do something after class. He just didn't want to go home. He wanted to go get tacos.
Oh, okay. I was confused because it's like you're saying he's gay, but then he was asking a girl out for drinks. That's what I was hearing. So
Well, yeah, I knew he was, but
Mhm.
nobody
She
else did.
didn't.
Yeah,
Okay,
and she
gotcha.
didn't.
Okay, tracking.
So, long story short, like a week later, he runs over to me. He's like freaking out. He's like, "Oh crap! I think I'm causing some drama." Blah blah blah. He tells me what happened. What happened? I'm like, I got you. I don't want this to linger. I don't want this to be a bigger issue, because if issues like that get to management, sometimes people get kicked out. So
Yeah.
when pulled her aside, was like, look, he didn't ask you out. He didn't want to go home. He's not out to everyone yet. I have permission to tell you that he is gay. He just wants to make sure everything's cool between you guys. She's like,
Yeah.
oh, I understand. And the reason why I bring that story up is had that been a straight guy who simply just wanted to go get tacos, the reaction of that young lady, even though it was possibly warranted because she didn't know what his intentions were, could have caused a problem.
I don't think there's ever anything wrong with somebody asking. Like you can always just say no. I
Right.
don't understand that reaction when girls like, how dare he ask me? Like, oh, what a creep. Is like, he's not being a creep, he's just asking. And if you say no and he respects that, then what's the issue?
Right.
Like it's when you say no and they continue acting like a creep, that's when it's an issue. But if they ask you once, you say, no, I'm not really interested. I don't date team members, whatever your reason is. And then they're like, oh, cool, I'll respect that. Then why would you get upset? Like, that makes no sense to me. But there are women like that. Like,
Yeah.
how dare he ask me? That's so, I'm offended. Like, what?
And
That
you
makes no
know,
sense.
with the nature of combat sports and BJJ, like you're gonna make friends. You
Yeah.
know, like I'm a guy, you're a lady, we're friends.
Hmm.
You know, if I wanted to go get tacos after class, hey Yana, let's go get tacos. It's
Yeah.
no big deal. And
Hmm.
when you have two people like me and you, it's perfectly fine.
Hmm.
But those two other people, that one young lady's reaction, like if it was me and her, and I said, "Hey, let's go get tacos," and she reacted that way,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
I would be
She'll
worried.
cause unnecessary drama.
Yeah,
It
like
irritates me when people are like that.
you know, like am I gonna get in trouble?
Yeah, I've just because I've asked that question. Like, there's nothing wrong with asking, in my opinion. Really, there isn't.
Yeah, and
Just don't
actually,
be a just don't be a pervy creep about it.
you know what Theo calls me now? Since he's been
What?
watching Naruto, he calls me pervy sage,
Oh
pervy dad.
God.
I'm like,
It's like, please
don't
don't call me that.
don't do
That's
that. Yeah,
no, do you understand what you're even saying?
no, he doesn't.
Yeah. Um,
But you know, like I like to make friends with people that I train with.
mhm. Yeah,
But
same.
you know, and I'll admit, I do have a bit of a lingering worry that I might be cool with someone of the opposite sex, and then I'd say, hey, you know, we're all going to this bar for someone's birthday. Hey, you want to hang out in the parking lot and talk? Because I like to do that. Like after
Mhm.
class, parking lot, chit chat. You know, I'm worried that somebody might take that the wrong way. And
Mhm.
then, you know, who knows what will happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just generally, I think everybody's been in that situation where you're not quite sure if that person, is trying to hang out with you because they have romantic intentions or they really just want to be friends. And I've definitely been there. And honestly, the best thing is just to like communicate the intention, like really just want to be friends, just want to have a chat with you, blah, 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 like nothing beyond that.
Yeah,
But I don't know, people jump to conclusions and get easily offended these days. So it's getting harder and harder.
that's a question. Have you ever encountered, other than the guys that you brought up that seem to be having questionable motives, have you
Mhm.
ever encountered any ladies that had questionable motives when it comes to training?
Not necessarily. I know that there's some females who are a lot more uh, liberal and carefree. Maybe liberal is the wrong word. A lot more carefree about uh, sleeping around with their training partners. And I think that has, or like dating their training partners, or dating around in the gym you train at. And I mean, it's not, I don't know, maybe there are some females who like, they really use jujitsu as a way to like pick up dates. I can think of one female in particular who would do that a lot. She would date um, her training partners a lot. And that causes a lot of drama, I think. And I know that there was a lot of, yeah, we had some females, not, I mean, not even just like the opposite sex, but even of the same sex, like a lot of women who train jujitsu are gay. And there've been, I know at Pentagon MMA, there was a lot of like the first few years that I trained there was a lot of like dating around between female partners. And the a lot of drama came out of that too. I think like there were a couple girls who quit the gym because of all the emotional baggage that had developed between um, them, like among them, because of all the stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
outside of training.
Yeah. On that note, I remember we all went to, I think it was a bar down the street from the gym. And we walked in.
Lost Dog?
No, not
Was it
Lost
Brick
Dog.
House?
I think it may have been Brick House. Is that the Irish pub?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we walked in, they looked around, I looked over, I saw some of the other ladies from the gym, and the group I was with noped out. They turned around and left. And I was thinking, where are we going now? And we ended up going to Bob Anita's. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't ask because they looked really upset, but
Mm.
I had kind of put piece one and piece two together and kind of figured
Oh, I
out.
wonder if we're referring to the same people right now.
I'm pretty sure we are, but it was just weird because, I'm like a late 30s guy just thinking, hey, we're gonna have a drink, have something to eat, chill down time, and then go home. That happened.
Yeah, little did you know, there's all this drama right around the corner. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I don't think that jujitsu, the nature of that sport makes it any. So I've heard people argue that the nature of that sport makes it easier to like hook up and um, date around and whatnot because how intimate the sport is or whatever. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that can happen in any hobby you pursue, whether it be martial arts or dance or basket weaving or painting, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what the hobby is. Like, you're gonna have that drama of like, she's dating, he's dating, whatever. And
Dancing was way worse.
yeah, I'm sure. Like, you're not. I, I mean, I would say dancing is more intimate than jujitsu because jujitsu is like aggressive and you're just focusing on getting your arm,
Well,
not getting arm barred or choked out.
the style of dance that I was involved in was very, it was not intimate at all. Like everybody was separated.
Hmm.
So when we would battle each other, sometimes we get really close, but it would be very brief. But yeah, that was a mess. Like
Hmm.
me and my best friend, we said, you know what, we're not dating any of you. And people got angry.
Hmm.
They're like, why not? Are you too? Anyways, not the point.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
but that's a great point. So like, I guess to kind of move on to the next part of that discussion, this discussion is like how you deal with a significant other who doesn't understand jujitsu or over sexualizes it or is worried about that um, co-ed training,
So
because of the risks.
yeah.
And I would
So
say it's no riskier than dancing.
well, it isn't. There the first year that I was involved in the house music scene and breakdancing in DC, I saw way more BS when it came to interpersonal relationships than I ever did in BJJ,
Hmm.
hands down. You know,
Hmm.
it it was almost like a big turnoff because there were so many people. He's dating her. She's like the promoter for this party. Now we can't go there because he broke up with her. You know, she represented our main DJ and he's pissed off and won't spin because no, like
Yeah.
there was more pieces to the puzzle that needed to be intertwined, interconnected, and well oiled for the night to go down that just broke apart because people couldn't
Wow.
keep away with each other from each other.
Yeah.
Now imagine if um at a gym, right? Say there's the head coach, the general manager, assistant coach. Imagine if somebody on the fight team ended up dating the general manager, that broke off. There's issues there. And then
Hmm.
maybe the head coach and that broke off. And then somebody else. And then it's stupid. keep it professional. If you have feelings for somebody, handle that off the mat. Maybe one of you trains in another gym until that's
Mhm.
resolved or whatever. But that's probably the subtext in subconsciously why I wanted to talk about this, because I think I was a little bit worried with a couple things that have happened, that the BJJ my BJJ experience might go down the route that my dance experience did.
Mm,
And
yeah.
like, I'm too old for that shit,
Yeah.
basically.
Right.
So
Yeah. And I don't know if like maybe the demographic is a little different, but it seems like in jujitsu, I don't know what the demographic was in your dance scene, but maybe they were like younger
uh
and less family. Like I know a lot of people who practice jujitsu are they're older, they have families, like they're
honestly,
working professionals.
it's about the same.
It is okay.
Yeah. Maybe the average age is a little bit younger, but not by much.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, I mean, you're gonna find trauma wherever you go,
mhm.
whatever hobby you choose and whatever hobby you choose. But um, like I said, I don't think that jujitsu has any greater risk of um, foul play being involved than any other hobby.
I mean,
You know.
I can understand why people would think that because of the closeness factor,
Hmm.
but you know,
Yeah, and no, but those people don't understand jujitsu, and that's the
no.
thing. Like, if you've never trained, I understand. Like, if you've never trained jujitsu, and the only times you, and like some of the positions in jujitsu, like the mount or something, like the only time you've ever seen that positioning of two people is in a sexual environment, then I could understand like you not quite understanding that you're not thinking about sex at all. You're thinking about escaping or submitting,
Yeah. Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
when you're practicing jujitsu. And but I don't know. I mean, and the other thing is like you can't control what other people are thinking. So maybe, and this is something me as a woman I think about sometimes. It's like I can't control what guy is thinking. Like if he's thinking, oh man, this would I she's so flexible. I'd really like to try to get her in bed, and like I can't control that. I can't control if my training partner is thinking those things. All I can do is manage myself, focus on training, and um, staying professional. But I
So
can't control what other people think.
yeah, so I know guys who consider flexibility a big turn on. And
Oh yeah, I think most guys do. They're like,
yeah.
oh,
Now, this is gonna sound a little crass. Luckily for men, there's a very easy way to gauge if they're thinking that route
oh
during
yeah, right.
practice.
Mhm.
And I've only seen that once.
Really? I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm thank goodness. I have no personal experience with that awkward situation. Thank goodness.
I do.
Oh my gosh.
I'll tell you about it real quick. It was somebody who was visiting the gym, and
Mhm.
his roommate was watching the class, and he walked over to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm visiting. I'm a white belt. I'm wearing a white belt. I'm actually a purple belt. Will you partner with me?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Didn't think anything about it. Didn't no second thought. I was like, "Oh, visitor, might as well be nice to him." Um, as we started drilling, I started noticing that as he got more comfortable, I started realizing, wait a second, the guy who's sitting over there is getting angry because this guy is like laughing and joking around with me. I was like, are they a couple? And I was
Mhm.
like, I started just reading this interaction, right?
Mhm.
And then we were doing half guard sweeps, and I started n- noticing that the knot in his belt kept hitting me in the hip pretty hard. And I looked down because I was like, what is he doing? was not the knot in his belt.
Oh my gosh, that's so awkward.
Yeah. So then I looked down and I was like, oh, and it was he like wasn't even trying to hide it, right? And I looked at him and he was like giving me this really goofy look, and he was like smiling and everything.
That's so creepy.
And Frankie was actually probably like 5 feet away from me drilling with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was like, Frankie, like trying to get his attention. I was like, help. But yeah, that he didn't hear me. And I looked up and his roommate got mad and stormed out. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh man, my boyfriend is mad at me. I'm like, yeah, okay. I see what's going on here.
That's
So
so crazy.
luckily Sugi called time and told everybody to get their mouth guards, get ready to roll. So do let go. I got up and I walked across the mat and partnered with um John. I don't know if you remember John Perel.
Uh,
Yeah, not important, but I partnered with him and I told his partner to go to this guy.
yeah. Wow, that's so awkward.
Yeah,
I
like
would I would die if something like that happened. I haven't, like I said, I haven't ever noticed. Maybe like that has happened and I just haven't noticed or something. But yeah, no, it's never happened that I've noticed
but
so
you know,
far.
honestly though, if again going back to headspace, like if you're on the mat and you're in the right headspace, that won't happen,
Right.
because
Exactly.
you're I don't want to say, all right, I'm just gonna be crass, like whatever it is in a man's head that causes the arousal reaction is
Hmm.
completely shut off. So the only people who would have that reaction, again, like we said earlier,
Are people who aren't focusing.
aren't focusing and they're there for ulterior motives.
Yeah.
So, oh God.
Yeah, that's awkward.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, in your case, like you can't control that happened, like, and maybe those situations will happen, but if that ever happens to you while you're training, don't let it stop you from training. Like not everybody's like that, especially if you're new to jiu-jitsu, and especially if you're a female. Like there are a lot of great reasons to keep doing jiu-jitsu, and don't let creeps get in the way. That's my advice for all those women out there.
Yeah. And my advice for the ladies out there is um if you're having trouble with the white belts, the guys who probably are going a little bit too rough, probably not having the best self-control, just find a blue or purple belt or brown belt or even a black belt if there's one an extra one in the room that's not teaching, and just partner with them. Just tell
Yeah.
them straight up, look, I'm not comfortable rolling with the beginners in this class, especially the guys. Can I just partner with you?
Yeah.
And I've had one or two ladies do that with me, and it was no big deal. Like honestly, it
Mhm.
was no big deal. you know don't worry about the upper belt that you partner with not getting their practice in. Don't worry, we
Yeah.
can get it in. Just
Yeah,
as
exactly.
as long as you are comfortable, that's all that matters.
Yeah. And then the other point that we were making about like feeling that you're not getting good training because people are holding back on you. Like if that's your situation, like with the women we started this discussion with, just keep in mind, if you're newer and don't think that you have to improve like that. It'll take time, and um, you don't always want that person to go 100% on you, because you don't always get the best training when that happens. Um, and in my opinion, like the best training I've gotten was during with training partners who go at like a slower pace, so that I can like actually maintain awareness of where things are going with the role, and like what my positioning is, and what technique I can use. So you don't always need to go 100%. In fact, like it's counterproductive sometimes to have that. So if you're one of those people who wants to go a hundo every single time, you might be kicking yourself in the butt doing that. So
Definitely.
try to go a little slower so you can pay attention more to what you're doing.
Yeah. And just remember the number one thing is skill acquisition. So going all out in a role doesn't necessarily equate to skill acquisition.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you're not necessarily learning anything. You're just kind of trying to kill or survive if you're the lower belt.
Yeah.
So
All right, Yana. I think I drank too much.
yeah, I had my my rum and I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I think, oh, I don't even have ice in my cup anymore. Yeah, I'm good. You good?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good. It was a good discussion, and I'm
Yeah.
really curious to hear what other people have to say
Yeah.
and how they can contribute to the conversation. So I'm definitely looking forward to that part.
Yeah. We're,
Dos.
yeah, we're gonna do a part 2 because
Yeah.
we had scheduling issues and some of the other members of the panel couldn't make it tonight. So we're gonna do part 2, and I'm interested to see what the others think about it. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to invite some more of our female training partners
Yeah,
on.
no, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
They can definitely contribute.
Yeah. I think this is a conversation that people need to hear because,
Yeah.
I don't want to get another message from another female training partner or former training partner saying, I got hurt because blase,
Right.
blase.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That honestly kind of hurt my feelings a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but
Or I don't want to train anymore because blah, 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 blah.
right.
Yeah. All right,
All right.
Thomas. Well, thanks again for having me on your podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
And look forward to next week.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, come to Nogi.
Wait,
Friday.
when is that? On Friday?
Mhm.
Oh, that's right. April 1st, Testudo, right? Wait, no, that's the open mat on April 1st. So it's no gi at Sugi's on Friday. Okay. What time?
7.
7?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll try. If I can get someone to watch Lila, I'll try.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
All right. See you later.
All right. Peace. Have a
Bye.
great night. Bye.